I wanted to welcome everyone. I'm Sherry Conrad with RMTC. Today, we're fortunate to have Randi Mitchell with us. She is the Coordinator of Professional Development at FSDB and an adjunct professor at the University of North Florida in the Department of Exceptional, Deaf, and Interpreter Education. She is a Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, and she's going to share with us how to use Teams today, specifically when we're working with students who are DHH in a virtual world. Now that you know a little bit more about Randi, I'll turn the session over to her. Randi?
Hi, can everyone hear me and see me? Okay. So as we get started, some of you, I looked through the participants that are here and they said, I saw names. I see some of my FSDB people, so hi. I see some of my UNF people. I see some names that are familiar that I've seen at FEDHH, FEDHH, Florida Educators of Students for Deaf Hard of Hearing. So I'm so excited you guys are all here. I also have two of my favorite people that I've met through the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert program. I have Megan and Nicole also in the panel. So if I get stumped by something, we are going to be using both of them because they have worked with counties and schools all over the state of Florida and probably even out of the state of Florida. So if it's something I don't know, we can use them as a resource. So basically this whole presentation is going to be on how to use Teams to work with your deaf, hard of hearing students. Okay. So for our agenda, we're going to go through like, what is Teams? Because for some of you, you have been using Teams. And for some of you, you just kind of got thrown into Teams because now we're doing this whole distant remote learning. So for those of you that have been using Teams, you probably are having an easier transition period. And those of you that are just kind of being thrown into it. Kind of our agenda of what we're going to do. I was told I need to give you a crash course in Teams in about 30 minutes and then have time for question and answer. So that's kind of a lot. So we're going to get through this. I'm going to go over the Teams features. I'm going to show you the names of the different things in Teams. So that way, as we go through this presentation, you kind of know the words that I'll be using to talk about the certain things. We're going to go through posting and announcements. How do you post? How do you share? How do you share files and links? The chat feature for video, audio, and text. Most of you will probably use video the most, but there could be some of you that use audio for your oral students. So like, we might use it, you might not. There's also the text feature. So there's a lot of different things in Teams, which is great because you can adapt it for each situation that you need. Sorry, moving on. I got distracted by the chat feature. We also are going to go through live event and how to set up meets, which is also a cool thing that we've actually been using here at FSDB to kind of work through what we're doing for our professional development. Okay. Oh, and on one note,
we did have a question from the chat. Will you be able to at some time share how to put the interpreter in Teams during this?
Oh, they're wanting to know for interpreter for Teams?
Yes.
As I discuss the meetings, I will show, so the cool thing about working at the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind and being part of the MIE expert program is I'm getting best of both worlds. I'm getting access to people that are also experts using this platform. And then I get to test it out with our staff members here who are either deaf, hard of hearing themselves or work with DHH students. So we figured out tips and tricks to make sure our interpreters and everyone's included. And we have had some weird little hiccups and things happen, but I think the past 2 days has been a crash course of troubleshooting, and I will definitely share all those tips with you guys as we work through this webinar. I do want to note, I did talk to Kara from RMTC prior to this presentation, asking her what most of the people in this webinar were wanting to see. Since a lot of you are not using the assignment features or the grading features that are in Teams, I'm mainly going to be talking about how to communicate and use it to either share information with your students, to video conference, and that type of thing. I will share resources with you all if you're also trying to do the assignments and grading piece, and I'm sure that Nicole and Megan can also give me plenty of resources that can support you in that. But I was informed that a lot of people are still using Schoology, Google Classroom, there's Skyward, so I didn't want to go and waste time in all the grading aspect, and the important is how can we get that conferencing interaction with our DHH students. Okay, so we're going to start here. So Teams is for groups and subgroup members. So if we think of Teams, Teams is a hub of communication and interaction among groups and departments. So here at FSDB, each department, each school has a team. For you guys, your team might actually be your classroom. For my itinerant teachers, you might have your classroom and then you have each channel as a student. Or maybe each team is an individual student that you work with on your caseload. Everyone's team will look different based on how they have it set up. So that's just kind of the nature of the beast of Teams, is depending on how you're using it, it's going to look a little bit different for the person. The next thing is channels. So when we're in Teams, there's something called channels. This helps focus the group to a specific like subject of information or a specific group of people. So it kind of depends how you're using it. Here at FSDB, to support our teachers, we made an EdTech help team, so that way they can easily contact the EdTech experts on campus. In our channels, it's each hot topic of something they can use. Lucky for you guys, we have Pineapple PD, and some of those videos and resources are being shared there. So we released 2 this past weekend. So make sure you go check those out, and I'm sure RMTC can share that link for you guys. So the next thing we have is notifications. The notifications can be set up per channel to notify the user they need to go look, or the person using it can tag a person. And to tag, you'll use the @ symbol and then start typing their name. If there are important topics that you need to focus on, that's kind of where you create that channel. So let's say that you're, let's say you have an ELA class that you're working with your DHH students. Your ELA class will be your team. And then you might break it down to homework, grammar, classwork, read aloud. So each channel will be a different topic that that student will go to interact or get that specific content, those files. That's kind of where your channels come in. The next tab is using files to publish documents. So at the top of your team, you have a files button that you can click. That files button lets you publish documents like Excel sheets or a OneNote. You can also publish a PDF. You can kind of put it there and all those files save so someone can easily access those files for that specific team, which supports collaboration. Okay, so that's kind of what is Teams. So now I'm going to go through a Teams feature review. For those of you that have already been using Teams, this is probably going to be where you're like tuning me out a little bit, but this is also a good time to kind of see the words that we're using to navigate using Teams. Someone just asked, can you use a pre-created OneNote in the Files tab? You can attach a OneNote. So the cool thing is about Teams is when you're in that channel, there's a plus sign. That plus sign lets you add a bunch of different things. You can actually add a OneNote there and link that OneNote to that. So if you had an already created OneNote, you can go ahead and link it right there. One thing we did, because we wanted a specialized notebook that staff couldn't edit, and the only way we could make the team that we wanted was to do a read only, we just went ahead and posted the link like a website, but there's also the OneNote feature that you can add. Okay, So Teams review. Okay, so this is what Teams looks like when you just log in. So you're gonna go ahead and log in to your Teams, and this is what you get. You have every different aspect on your page. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through all those different pieces. So on the left, where the yellow box is now highlighting, this is what we, this is where we call our me space. So this me space is where you navigate and you can kind of see like what teams you're in, if you have notifications. This is the me space. In the me space, you have this app bar. This app bar lets you point out activities. So you'll see any notification, any activities if someone like tags you or there's an update in a certain channel. Those notifications will go right there in that activity spot. The chat is a private chat feature. So for our FSDB teachers, we're able to chat with people that are in our tenant. For you all in the different counties, that also might be a place where you can chat with your different, with all your different teachers. You might even be able to chat with your students. It kind of depends how your tenant has set up your teams. The next thing is teams. So that's where you might find your classes that you have set up. You might be in a team because your school has set you up in a team. That's that little tab in the app bar is where you'll find that team. The next place is meetings. This is how you're going to set up any scheduled meeting or meet now. That will be in that spot. The next icon is files. So any file that has been shared in your teams will all be stored there, or ones that you've shared yourself specifically will be in that file tab. So you can kind of click on it and see what all has been shared by yourself and access those documents. Someone just asked, is calls the same as meet? So yes and no. So in meetings is kind of where you schedule your audio call, your phone calls, your video calls. You can just kind of schedule different meetings. So it is kind of the same place. When you're in the chat in the app bar, let's say I wanted to chat to Kara because I just love Kara so much and I miss her. I'm going to chat with her and she's in my organization. I can chat Kara, and easily in that chat tab, I can click video, call, or share my screen. So that way, Kara and I are not only just doing a private chat, but we're able to do video or audio, or we can also share my screen. So if maybe she doesn't know how to edit something, I can go ahead and share the edit. For the meetings, that's where you're going to go to like call outside of your organization, set up meetings for a group of people in your organization, those type of different things. And someone wrote, what do I do if I can create a team but it won't recognize other coworkers' emails to add them to the team? I'm going to have Nicole or Megan go into the chat box and answer that question if they can. And then I'll repeat that because I have not added somebody from outside my organization into the private chat. I have used meetings to chat, like I've been able to chat with Megan and Nicole in meetings using Meet Now, using their outside emails. Someone asked, can we have students and their parents using the listed phone numbers and can they call us back? I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, so we'll go right back to that question. Yes, so where it says meetings, your icon might actually say calendar. So on my Mac, it does say calendar. For this screenshot, it says meetings. It might be different based on the technology you're using. And you have to remember, Microsoft is always updating their product. It's always changing. And at the end of this presentation, I'm gonna give you some Twitter handles to follow so you're always staying up to date, because I know RMTC is a big pusher of Twitter chats. Okay, so next underneath files is assignments. Here at FSDB, we are not using assignments yet. Our students aren't even into Teams. But so what we're going to do is in the assignments, you might assign students that thing, or you might be using Google Classroom or your Schoology to just assign your assignments. So for us at FSDB, we're ignoring that tab. You in your setting might be using that tab. And that's where I said, we'll give you the resources later for that, because as of now, I don't have the answer. So also, one fun fact is Teams. So right now, when you have a Teams meeting, you can only have 4 screens showing at one time. Microsoft is actively working right now to make sure that there's more than 4 screens up so everyone can see each other. So they're constantly working and it's constantly evolving. So, I mean, you could log into Teams one day, it looks one way, and then the next day it's going to look some other way, because they're always changing what is happening in Teams. And then, of course, the 3 dots, which I like to call the caterpillar. I don't know if that is an official technology term, but I call it the caterpillar or the fallen snowman. That is where you'll find more options. So anytime you see 3 dots, that's always going to be, more. But I like to, someone told me it's called ellipsis. I like to call it the caterpillar or fallen snowman. Okay, so that is your general, look of Teams. So right now you go in, you can see in your me space, you can see the team and all the different channels. And then now we're gonna go into, so that's, oh, your left rail. I'm going ahead of myself, I apologize. In your left rail, that's where you're gonna see the team name and all the different channels. So those different channels will be what is specific for your class and your group of students or the organization you're in. So some schools are not using Teams with their students and some are. So if you're using Teams with your students, this is kind of how you set up your class with all the different channels that are part of your class. So you can kind of see like language arts has general, and then elements of fiction group, and then power of persuasion group. So they broke up their channels for their class based on their needs. You're going to kind of break it up however it fits your instructional style the best. So now we move to the we space. The we space is where everyone can kind of, this is the space where everyone's interacting. So at the top of our we space, we have this little toolbar, and that's where you can see conversations, which is where you can kind of chat in your channel. We have files, which is where you can add like documents and different things. We have the class notebook, assignments, and the syllabus. And if you want to link your syllabus, so you can link actual documents at the top, like using a Google Share link or a Microsoft Share link and put it up there, or you can actually put it in a file where students could download it. There's a lot of different options for that top toolbar. Okay, that's also your class navigation at the very top, and that's kind of where you can navigate to get to the different parts of your class. And then that's that one bar that I was talking about with the conversations, files, class notebook, and all those different parts. Okay, so this is the other part of the we space. This is kind of where you can have those conversations with your students. It's important to kind of think like Teams, like Facebook a little bit. So you know in Facebook you have your news feed. Well, this part is kind of like your news feed. It's the canvas. So this canvas is where all the messages go. You'll notice in the canvas that there's a word that says reply. It's important to keep like conversations together, because if you start a new conversation, eventually you're going to lose that conversation in the feed. So it's important to kind of hit reply if it's the same related conversation and dialogue. That way it all stays together. So you can also search within your team. If you are one of those people like me and you're like, oh my goodness, I know I saw that message. Where is that message? Where is that document? You can type in the search or type a command and it will pull up what you're missing. So that way you can kind of see like, oh, I was talking to that student about whatever, type it in and it will pull up all this whole list of options, and then you kind of pick what you were looking for. Okay, posting an announcement. So that was your just like crash course in like, this is what Teams looks like. Okay, now we're about to get into like the do part. And I'm gonna try to watch my time because I don't want RMTC after me. Okay, so posting and announcements. So here's some tips. When you post your reply associated with the original post, make sure you hit reply and not a new conversation. I just mentioned that. I've been mentioning it all day to our FSDB staff members. It's so important to practice that, that reply instead of starting a new conversation. You can also use the reaction or thumbs up to let someone know that you read the message. So if you hover over that conversation and click, you can do a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a smiley face, all these different emotions to kind of let someone know I read it instead of all these okay. Don't flood your feed with that. Just go ahead and do a little thumbs up or a smiley face and let someone know that you read it. Some replies will provide a notification, and that's kind of what I mentioned before, doing that whole like tag somebody. Do the @ and then their name, and it will tag them based on the setting. You can also format a post. So most of the time when you're looking at your Teams, it's one little small line for the chat, but you can format your post and it'll bring up a bigger box so you can format so it almost looks like an actual document. And I'll show that on another slide. And then there's files uploaded. So if you are in a conversation and you upload a file, it will automatically go to that channel's file and save it there. So it's really nice. It doesn't, so you're not unorganized with all of your files. So if you start posting them in the main feed, they'll automatically go ahead and file in the top bar that we talked about. Okay. So in the Canvas, you can kind of see at the bottom is where I talked about the reply. So I kind of already talked about that, but this is kind of where we're talking about is this whole chat piece. Okay, so for posting messages, if you're wanting to format a post, you're going to look for the big A with the pin. If you click the big A with the pin, it's going to open that box up and make it a bigger box, and that way you can hit the enter button without it sending your message. So it will bring it up big, you can indent, you can bold, you can add bullet points, you can add numbers, all these different things that kind of format a large chunk of a post. In this area, you can also post in multiple channels. So let's say you have maybe 4 different teams, which are your classes. You can go in here and send the post to each of those channels. And that way you're not copy paste. You can just send it from one place. And those options are in that formatting area. You can also start a new conversation or post an announcement. So announcements are those, they're gonna have a big bar and it's gonna kind of really draw your attention, and then I'll have that like megaphone speaker in the right-hand corner. That kind of lets someone know like, hey, this is important, like this is important information. Maybe it's how you start your day, like greeting students, we're gonna do these awesome things today, and you're gonna list it down in the announcement. So that kind of lets them know, like their eyes are drawn to it and they see like, oh, there's an important announcement from my teacher. Okay, we good on time? I think so. Adding files and links. So this is important for like if you need to attach a certain PowerPoint you want them to read, or a certain PDF article. Maybe you're going to send them an article. And that top bar, that is where you're going to find that files. So I kind of went over that already when I was talking about the Teams features, but it's important to know like what's at the top. Right now, your top might not look the same as my top. So you're going to have conversations, files, maybe you're going to add a class notebook, maybe you'll have assignments there, syllabus. It could look different. Some of the teams I'm in, it says files and then a few websites that are important for our organization. It depends how you decide to set up your team, what's best for you. The important thing is to make sure that whatever's up there is important and you want students to easily navigate to those spots. Okay, so this is the big one. I think this is what everyone came here for. This is the chat features, video, audio, and text. Okay, so in your Teams features, remember, we're gonna go over and we're gonna look at our app bar. Remember all those different things that are there? we're going to go into, we're going to go through that, but that's kind of where what I'm talking about now. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words. This is my, I think, 4th webinar today. As we go through the app bar, this is kind of going to match what I'm going to talk about. So all the features that I'm like, okay, we're going to chat, you're going to click the chat bar. If I'm like, we're talking about meetings, it's the meetings in the app bar. So I'm not in the we space anymore. I'm all the way in the me space in that app bar. Okay, chat. So chats are private chats that you can have with students that might be in your organization set up in your team, or they can be with your coworkers and peers. So here at FSDB, we're using chat so I can easily chat someone that is at school and we just can direct chat back and forth. So if it's more of a quick conversation that doesn't need to be an email, we will use the Teams chat for that. You can also use chat when you're in the we space. So yes, I'm kind of going back and forth, but you're able to chat in the conversation part of the we space. So in chats in your channel, so you're in your channel, we're in the we space, you can post announcements. And I showed you how to do that by hitting the big A with the pen, the writing utensil pen. And that's kind of where you're able to post that big announcement. In video calls, you can most likely have captions. One thing we have faced, so when I use for FSDB people, our tenant has the caption piece turned on. But I know when I video call with Nicole, captions are turned off in her tenant. So she is unable to view captions, but I'm able to view captions. So keep that in mind and kind of play to see if your tenant has captions turned on or off. The captions are live captions, so I do warn you that you could be talking and as you have to make sure you're clear and talking at a good pace for the microphone to pick you up and type, or to type it out. It works pretty well, but there are times where you'll get some weird word mixed in there. So I do caution and warn on using captions, and also make sure you have them working before relying on them for a call. The next thing is chat and file sharing is available in private and in your channel chat, so you can share both ways. In your private chat, I kind of mentioned that's what I do with Kara because she's in my organization. I can text her through it. I can video call her. I can just audio call her. Either way, and I can also switch from devices, which is great. So I have Teams on my computer. I have Teams on my phone. I could be on the phone with her and then switch and move on to my cell phone as I'm leaving for the day. So you kind of got to see what works best for you. You can also share your screen. So like right now in the Zoom call, I'm sharing my screen so all of you can kind of see what I'm looking at. And then you can also schedule a meeting in an individual chat or in your team channel. Okay. So Meet Now. Meet Now, so see my graphic does have calendar. The other one I was using was a Microsoft image. Because I wanted something neutral that I wasn't sharing private information on the web since this is recorded. So this screenshot shows that it does say calendar. So some will say calendar, some will say meetings. It's both the same thing. It'll be fine. So you'll click on, if you're wanting to do a meeting that's like with your organization, people that are in your team, you can either go to the calendar and set up the meeting, or in your channel, at the bottom, you have the capital A with the pen, which I was talking about, or pen, pencil, and then you have the paper clip, you got a smiley face, you have your GIF, you have a photo thing, you have the camera. That camera represents Meet Now. That symbol is always going to be your Meet Now symbol. You can use that to just meet with everyone on that channel. So let's say that we're back in that language arts class, and that language arts class with that persuasion writing one, in that channel, I could go down to that bottom and decide we're gonna meet now. Maybe we're gonna all video together and talk about like our persuasive papers, or share something that we've read about and analyze a certain document. So that's kind of how that works. You can do it with a certain group. If you're wanting to do it with with outside individuals, you have to go to the calendar. So in your calendar, you'll click calendar, and then up at the top right, you'll hit meet now, and it'll still have that same video icon in the words meet now. There's where you can enter in the person's email. This is how I video call with both Nicole and Megan because they're outside of my organization. But like I warned, some guests might not have captions. So I could have captions on my end because I have them turned on for my tenant, but like Nicole is unable to view captions on her end based on how her tenant is set up. So that is something to keep in mind. That might be something you have to talk to your IT people about or whoever is in charge of your teams to get turned on. Okay, teams meet now. Okay, members of a team can join a scheduled video call, or video calls can be launched on demand. So this is kind of what I was talking about. You can use the calendar to schedule it, or you can go down to that bottom in your channel and just hit that icon. Caption availability is for, I should have changed the slide. We have it on our scheduled calls and working. It might be on yours, it might not. This is all based on your tenant, and Teams is great because Teams can adapt to every situation, but that is also the problem with presenting on Teams because everyone's situation is different. So I was told there was going to be about 129 of you, and there could be maybe like 20 different ways that we're using Teams within this call. So I'm trying to be very surface level and just give you the need to know things so you can start reaching out to your students. In the Meet Now, you can also chat and file share. So this Meet Now is also where I was talking about, where you'll have the 4 videos. So in your screen, so like Zoom, you can have many, many, many people on your screen. Right now, Teams is not like that, but they're working on it soon. Like I saw a tweet today and they're like, we are working on this now. Do they have a date that they're gonna release? No, but they're working on it, and I think they're gonna stand by their word and have it out like as soon as they possibly can. But of course, like everything, it's a process to get it built and get it working, and they're not gonna release a product that's not ready for you guys to start using. So just keep it in mind, there is 4 screens. Sorry, I'm making sure my PowerPoint, I don't go past. This is where I want to talk about the interpreter. And this is why Kara said about speaker notes. So I will never not use speaker notes ever again, lesson learned. You can also record a meeting. So similar to how this is being recorded, you can record your meeting. You can also share your screen in a Meet Now. And there's also a notes feature, so you can like take notes during what's happening in the call. This might be good if you're meeting with your grade level teacher, maybe you're an itinerant meeting with your gen ed teacher. It gives you that spot where you can keep your notes in a safe spot so both of you have access to those notes. Okay, so for interpreters, so now that we're talking about, someone just asked, you need consent to record the participants. That is something that is going to have to go by your school rules. You're going to have to make sure you have to read your school plan and you have to know your school policy. So yes, I'm just sharing, you can record a meeting. I'm not saying go record and post them everywhere. This makes me think of the woman that was on the Zoom call, and it was a viral video, and she went to the bathroom during her Zoom call, never turned off her camera. Well, now that poor woman is like all over the internet because they recorded that call and they shared it. But for consent for recording, that is something your school needs to decide. That is not a me decision. That is just, I'm sharing that you're able to record. Okay, so going back to the 4 screens. So let's say we have 4 people in our chat. It's perfect because I can see the 3 other people, and actually I can have 4 other people. So me and 4 other people, all screens will be there. I'll be a little mini, but I can see my 4 people. Let's say someone else joins in. Well, that's the problem because now whoever talks the least, and that's the key word, talks, background noises, sounds, banging on something, whoever is making the most noise is going to be the top 4 on the screen for now. And then hopefully in the near future it's changed. So because of that, if we're all, let's say we're all sign language users, we're not using the voice function on, we're muting our mics. if we mute our mics, the top 4 that entered are just going to stay there. Well, that causes a problem when we have maybe some are using spoken English and we have our interpreter. So for our interpreters, there's this really cool thing called pin. You're able to pin the interpreter on the screen, so you are always going to see the interpreter. Right now, you can pin up to 4 people that stay on your screen, and the other people will be small at the bottom or little dots showing either their Bitmoji or their picture or their date or their initial, whichever is their icon in their profile. So that is something to keep in mind, that pin feature. So it looks like a little push pin, and you turn it on and it goes on the screen. The one thing about that is if I pin something on my screen, it does not mean that it is pinned on your screen. So this is a teachable moment to share how to pin people on your screen, so you make sure that everyone has what's on the screen on their screen. Okay, so I hope I answered that question, or that whole concept of using the interpreter. So what we've been doing with our interpreters is we're pinning them on the screen, and so we're pinning both interpreters because we'll have 2 for an hour-long meeting. Both are pinned on the screen. One turns their camera off as the other one is interpreting. And then when the second one it's time to switch, the other one will turn on their camera. That lets that other interpreter know. They turn off their camera, and then they switch and take turns. So that is what we're doing right now with our interpreters, and working in a meet now type of situation. Okay, so live events. This is what I've been doing all week. Okay, so someone just said the interpreter was pinned and they're blurry. The one thing is Teams could be the top off the charts, most amazing technology in the world, and I fully back it. The problem is internet bandwidth can just be the kryptonite of Teams. So if your internet isn't strong, you're using a lot of video, you have a lot going on, you're going to have a lag or delay. So that's kind of when you need to be aware that of communicating with whoever's in your meeting, whether it's your students, your other staff members, having that open communication. If there's lag or freeze, that person lets you know so you can repeat yourself. Make sure you're signing big. Make sure you're signing very clear, big movements. That way, even if it's a lag or delay, it'll still kind of pick it up. But there is going to be some sort of delay. It is technology. We all have different internet strengths going on. So I'm at FSDB right now. So my internet is going to be a little bit stronger than if I was at my home. So that also kind of depends. Okay, so now moving on to live events. So I think I'm running out of time. Live events are scheduled event that you can share with your class. It's basically having a full webinar, almost like what you're seeing right now, where I can't see any of you guys. I'm just talking to my computer screen and a little image of me in the top corner, and that's it. I'm really gonna have to check my sanity after all these live event trainings, because I've been talking to my computer for 2 days straight. So these live events basically let you share something on your screen. It could be the whiteboard in office.com. It could be your PowerPoint. It could be a Word document. It could be anything that you want to share on your screen, and then you can also have a video next to it. This allows the user to join your live event. I think I'm going ahead of myself because I get so excited about the live events. Okay, so the live event can be joined by outside people. They don't need to have Teams. You can set it up any way to make sure that they're coming in to kind of join in a webinar type of format. They can ask questions. If you set up as a question answer type of live event, they can ask questions throughout, and then you as the producer or the presenter can see that live event questions and answers, and you can provide that support. You cannot see each other. There's no interaction. So it's a little bit different than Meet. Meet now gives you that aspect of interacting with each other, chatting back and forth, sharing screens. A live event is basically sit and get, or a presenter-led event. You can have multiple presenters in that, but if you're working with students, they're just going to you're going to kind of just watch it. So you'll find live event in calendar. You'll click calendar or meetings, and then you'll go up and click add new meeting. There's like a plus sign with a little caret drop down, and then you'll drop down and you'll hit live event. It'll have you set up different features. Because my tenant has captions, I'm able to hit captions, so that way the user has the option of captions. I can add my presenters, I can add my producers. It's important, if you as a teacher decide to do a live event with your students, that you make yourself the producer. Even though you're presenting, you still want to be the producer, because you're setting up the cue and the live event and what's going on. So then it'll pop up a whole window and you'll type in all your information. You'll do the title. You'll say who's the producers. You'll do the time it will start, the ending of the event, all the different things. Fill it out, save it, and it'll give you a link for participants to join. Or if you set it up that it's specific people, it'll just go to those certain people and they don't have to sign in. So there's different options. So go through that. Attendee, so like I said, they can join by code, depending on how you have it set up. If you have captions in your tenant, it will let them have the captions. They can like not really raise hands, but they'll like type little questions. It can be recorded. Presenter and producer can share their screen. So depending on who is leading, it'll let them share. And there's also notes features available. So if you kind of recognize a pattern, a lot of the same stuff has all those tools embedded, so you're not losing anything. Okay, I just was told I got my 15 minutes. I'm almost done with this slide, and then I'm going to go right to questions. So this is a picture of what a live event looks like from a producer perspective. So as you can see, I have my queue, and in my queue, I added a video of me, so my video, which will use like my camera right here, my camera on my computer to video me as I go through my slideshow. You can make your slideshow go full screen. I hadn't put it in presentation mode, but you're able to, in your queue, send it live. Then you can also change it up in your queue before you send it live. So that's the nice thing. You can kind of like queue it up and then send it live. There's the whole tools of like the chat feature in the box, but I would recommend live events if you're like, I need to do whole group, but kids don't have cameras and you just want to present to your class. This would be a great tool for that. Okay, phone meetings. I lied. I guess I had more than I thought. You guys will have access to this very much like I said for the video chat. You'll do the same concept in phone meetings. You'll go to your calendar, you go to new meeting, and then you hit join. And from there, you will get a phone number and your meeting details. So follow this step by step. And if you're trying to do actual like phone calls, I do have to warn, this is very specific to DHH. If you as the hearing person are trying to make a phone call to an individual who's deaf that's using a video phone, if you make a phone call on Teams, it's gonna send it to a video relay service and then go to their VP. It will not let you talk directly to that person, video or phone. You have to think of Teams as acting like an actual like phone for this purpose when you're using the phone meeting. But in phone meetings, you'll, very similar to what Skype is, I'm pretty sure they're starting to embed into each other, you get a phone number and a conference ID. Zoom works the same way, where you get the phone number and conference ID, and that's how you join that phone call. You can also invite somebody. You can type in their phone call. It calls them directly. My poor mother, I gave her a few phone calls last week trying to test this out. I easily just typed in her phone number. I was able to call her through my computer. She got an, for our tenant, it was like an 813 number. I'm not sure what your number will pull up as when you call somebody, but make sure you warn that individual that they might get a weird phone number calling them between whatever time you plan to call them. Scheduled meetings. When you're scheduling a meeting, you have all these wonderful options to get your meeting set up. So you can add your title and the date and start time and all that. So you just fill out that information and that sets you up a meeting. And then it will email those attendees the information to join. Very similar to how Zoom works, where you get that email and then you hit the button and you join. If you're working with your class and you decide, I want that specific channel to join, that's where you fill it in this scheduled meeting. So if you just want the persuasive writing group, you just say add channel and you go from there. and then it'll pop up that little icon that I told you, that camera, and then they can go on that channel and join from that point on. I do have to warn that sometimes when you leave that call, the room is still open and it doesn't always end. If you want it to end right when you leave, make sure you go back into your calendar and cancel that event. Otherwise, people will still be interacting until that room ends. So these slides are just showing that what a canceled event looks like. You get an email notification saying it was canceled. These are the little tips I kind of mentioned. You can turn on captions if you have captions. Those are going to be in your Caterpillar. It's important to remember that the captions will not pick up who is talking. So it will not say Randy's talking or Megan's talking or Nicole's talking. It's just continuous captioning. We recommend to our teachers here at FSDB that they need to state their name and then start talking. So the caption says like Randy's talking and then goes on. And this slide also discusses how to pin the interpreter. And like I said before, Microsoft is working super hard on getting it so we can have more than 4 screens. And this is a screen sharing button. It's the square with the arrow, and that lets you share your screen. Okay, so here are some resources and support. I tagged some really great stuff that Microsoft has. These links will show you everything about creating, attending, running meetings. I mean, it's everything you need to know. It's on Microsoft's website. They even broke it down to like the point of educator, student, and other people. So you can almost like share that link specifically to your students or use that as a learning tool. I also linked the roles in teams and how to do live events, which I noticed that Megan also shared in the box. Okay, so on the right-hand side, I put some Twitter follows. You can follow at, I think it's supposed to be Microsoft Teams, so I apologize, I just wrote Teams. I'm pretty sure it's at Microsoft Teams, so I will fix that. It is Microsoft Teams. And then you can also follow at Microsoft EDU. You could follow myself, Randy, the next one is Megan or Nicole. All 3 of us are following all the Microsoft people and other technology stuff, and we're constantly retweeting and sharing out everything that we have. So it's a great place to get more resources. Okay, now questions. I think I have 9 minutes left. Am I in trouble?
Definitely not in trouble.
Good.
You're doing great, Randy.
All right.
In the question and answer box, Melissa Myers asks, can you show where you turn the captions on?
Okay, so I'm going to go back a few slides. So you're always going to use the fallen snowman or the caterpillar. That's going to save your life every time. So in that, you'll hit, so if you're in a Teams meeting, it will show the 4 boxes. If you kind of just like shake your mouse a little bit, it'll pop up this little like toolbar, which is over here in this example. And it will show like time elapsed, camera on, the microphone on, and then that 3 dots, if you click that, it'll have the turn your live captions on feature. So from there, you can turn your live captions on, but remember, if you see the live captions, that does not mean your students are using the live captions. Each individual device has to turn on the live captions.
Thank you, Randy. Kate Sanders asks in the chat box, can you hook up an Elmo if she's working with her team and she wants to show a document that's not on her computer?
That depends how her Elmo is hooked up. Is her Elmo hooked up on her computer? If your Elmo is hooked up through your computer, like a USB into your computer, you should be able to share it in your Teams as one of the options. Like it might pop up. If you're using the Elmo, because you can probably see it shared onto your screen, so you'll kind of do like a shared screen thing and have that Elmo document kind of running through your computer.
She said yes, it is connected. So
okay, so I think that's how that would work. It would go through your computer. It would kind of be on your screen, the document that you're writing on, and it would be shared that way when you do the shared screen feature.
Thank you. Evan Steinloff asks, is it possible to disable the recording function to assist with confidentiality issues, or can anyone record whatever, whenever they want?
I believe this might be a Nicole and Megan question. It might depend on your tenant. I know for live events, I can turn off the recording feature, so only I have control of who records. I haven't played around with it enough in conversations to see where that blocking is. So I don't know if either Megan or Nicole want to chime in. I think Nicole is about to get on.
Hey, yeah, it's Nicole. That's a great question. I am actually unsure if that's something that is controlled at the Office 365 admin level, or if it is just built into Teams and you cannot turn it off. That's a great question. I don't know the answer. I will try and find the answer in the next 5 minutes, and if I find it, I'll let you know. But I would imagine the Office 365 admin, I don't know, would have to be able to allow that. I don't know. Let me look it up.
Okay. Nicole's going to do her super search powers on the internet. Nicole and Megan have never failed me. I'm surprised they haven't blocked my number because I bug them all the time. So I hope they have an answer soon.
Thank you, Randy. Evan said thank you also.
Okay.
Catherine Montesino asks, can everything on Teams from a laptop be also available on a smartphone?
I've used almost every feature. So like when I go in, let me see if I can kind of like share. Ooh, my Teams is it's like a bit of a mess. So I can go in and I can kind of see like my whole like team. I don't know if you can kind of see my screen. If I had my USB plugged in, I could show my phone. But the Teams app looks very similar to what you see on your computer, except the app bar that I talked about that's always in the left is going to be down at your bottom. You can look at your activity, your chat messages. You can see all your teams there. The only thing I do notice is the difference is you really got to look for those like carets or dots to find all your options. So keep that in mind when you're using it, because something you might overlook it.
Great answer. Thank you, Randy. D. Stoddard asks, can they use Microsoft Teams to place an audio call to a hearing person?
Yes. So you can actually use that whole phone audio call thing. You can use that to go ahead and call somebody by typing in their number, and it will call them. The only thing is it won't say like, I'm from FSDB or I'm from Duval County. It's some random number that's assigned to your tenant, and it's going to show up as that number. Parents are unable to call that number back because that number needs a conference code. So when you go back through those phone directions, you can kind of see where it says meeting details. Those meeting details are important. Similar to doing Zoom, you have to have that code to get in, or that actual like number, and then you have the code. Teams works the same way. You need the number and the code. Someone can't call you back without having that exact code.
She says, okay, great, thank you. Another question from Melissa Myers. When a student is sharing their screen and she needs to see, and the student needs to see her interpreting what's on the screen, she shows up to the student with the toolbar across her chest. Is there a way to take that off?
So if you move your mouse over and give it a second, it'll disappear. So it's like a hover. Also, one thing to note when you're sharing your screen, when you hover up at the top when you're in a live meeting or in a different meeting, if you hover at the top, it'll give you an option to take control of the screen. I do have to warn, I know Duval County was having major problems with students taking over the teacher's screen. So just be aware of that there's a take control feature. I believe there's a way to turn that off, but I don't know off the top of my head. I need to go back and see what came out of that. But you're able to kind of, if the student's sharing their screen, they forget to like give it back, you can take the screen back from them.
Melissa says it doesn't come off on her end, even when she hovers off of it. One of the things that I've experienced is they have to make sure their screen is big. You have to make sure.
Yes, that's true too.
So I think sometimes if they try to have too many windows open, that can cause that to happen as well. Krista Phelps says, Nicole said that she can move her picture around or minimize, but how? She doesn't see the flat line in the gallery view. She could move the kids' pictures, but not her own in the screen share.
So in screen share, you kind of see yourself and it kind of stays at the bottom. It doesn't really move from that, in that space. It kind of just stays there, but the kids are going to see you. They will see you little too. I'm not sure if you can, I don't know if I fully understand the question or if I'm not answering it correct, but.
Hey, it's Nicole.
Okay.
Hey, I think, and maybe whoever asked that question too can come off mute if I misunderstood. I thought you meant in a Teams meeting, can you minimize the screen where you see yourself? And if that's the case, yes, because when you're sharing your screen in a Teams meeting, the Teams meeting portion of the screen becomes this little tiny box, and there should be a minimize button on that little tiny box in the corner. Did I understand you correctly when I answered?
Krista just wrote, my picture was over content when I was screen sharing. So when you're screen sharing, you might want to, I think you can mine automatically goes down to the bottom right.
This is Krista. What I was doing was I screen shared and then I split the screen so I could have an interpreter on the one side and my content on the other side. And the picture of myself continued to be on the content I was trying to share. And like somebody else said, the toolbar was in the middle of the interpreter in that screen share view.
Okay.
And I did learn not to pin the interpreter because then if the kids are talking, they can't see each other.
Yes. So that is the one problem we're coming into when we're only stuck on 4 screens. So I'm hoping if we just are a little patient a little bit longer, we'll get more of those screens. Krista, I've been also showing some teachers here, and I also shared it in our notebook with our teachers, that I split with QuickTime and PowerPoint, and I share my screen that way. It's going to kind of double your picture doing that through Teams if you're doing like a live meet and you're sharing your screen and still showing yourself. I might need to like do a call with you, Krista, and make sure I'm understanding what you're saying and what you're trying to do. You might be doubling up on different things to just support them, because sometimes the students will see things that you don't see on your end. And like the toolbar, yes, will block you on your side. And I'm kind of just shocked that the toolbar isn't disappearing when you're moving your mouse. So I'm not really sure why that, because on mine it does disappear. So I don't know. But I am looking at the time and it's 4 o'clock. So we are out. The good thing is RMTC is a great resource for all of you guys. So all of your questions, definitely send to RMTC. If RMTC doesn't know, they'll come to me. And if I don't know, I'm going to go to Megan and Nicole and bug them.
Hey, Randy.
What?
Sorry, I know you're wrapping up. Can I answer a question really quick for Allison?
Sherry, thumbs up or down?
I'm worried about losing captions, so.
We're
Okay.
going to be over on captions and lose our captioning service.
Okay. If you just want to say in live event, you can see who joins and leaves the live event. You get an Excel spreadsheet. That's all.
All right. Well, so if you have any questions, I would definitely
Randy.
follow everyone on, let me go back to that screen. I would definitely follow all these people on Twitter if you're using Twitter. And it's updating. It just hasn't updated yet. I fixed all the names. So the bottom 3 are correct. Go ahead and follow us, and then you can see what we're sharing. And then also any questions you have, go to RMTC and they'll forward them to me if it's something I need to answer, or if I don't know, I will get it to Megan and Nicole for some help.
We do want to thank Randi for presenting today. That really was some amazing information. Finally, thank you so much to each of you for allowing us to be a part of your day today. The recording will be posted on the RMTC-DHH website. And you know, we love hearing from you, and we're happy to help in any way that we can. You can connect with us through social media like Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. You can also sign up for our newsletter. We would love to see your comments on social media about what you learned, but make sure that you use the hashtags RMTC-DHH and hashtag Florida Deaf Ed. That's FL Deaf Ed. As you know, we are a Florida Department of Education, Bureau of Exceptional Education and Student Services discretionary project, and all of the services we provide are at no cost to the participant. To continue our work, we must collect survey data to justify why our services are needed. If each of you could complete the survey, we would greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you from all of the RMTC staff. We're going to end the broadcast now.